It's Laura Eubanks of Design for Serenity with your succulent tip of the day. And it's Sunday Fun Day. Yesterday, I reworked an area in the back garden and I had a lot of really viable leftover rosettes that I pulled out because they weren't working for me in the space where they were at. They were leggy and, just ugh. But I thought, oh, well, I'll hold on to them, keep them in the shade, and, work them into a project. And then you guys commented, and your comments really inspired me. And one of you said, why don't you, or didn't say why didn't I, but, you mentioned that I could use those cuttings to refurbish the fountain. And yes, I can. And yes, you can if you have gutter gardens. The gutter gardens from Chula Vista didn't make it to Vista. There's just nowhere here to put them. Um, but I have the fountain, and I have been, kind of moaning the last couple times I've shot video out here of how, kind of belagged it looks. So here we are in early August in San Diego, and it's HOT as HE double hockey sticks. But this stays pretty shady. Gets a little morning sun, like early morning sun, and then it's pretty much in the shade the rest of the day. So I know that my cuttings are going to do just fine. And what I wanted to do was kind of give you some encouragement. If you have a succulent fountain or just any kind of container where you have succulents in said container and it's looking a little ratty, make sure that you resist the temptation to mess with it until the weather cools off, or it's in the shade, or you can provide shade for it. Remember, in the heat, the hottest part of the year, you don't just want to water your succulents because the heat causes many of them to go dormant. And when a plant is dormant, it's sleeping, which means that you can throw water on it, but the roots are not going to intake that water, which means the roots are going to sit in that water, which means that your plant is likely going to rot. The idea is to provide, if possible, shade, lower the temperature. That wakes the plant up. They're like, oh, okay, it must be fall. Then it's safe to water. But if you have succulents that are stressed and that are really, really, have pulled color, or have really have leaves that are super, super skinny and thirsty looking, provide shade first before you apply water is my recommendation. So that little PSA, let's get on with it here. Now, I learned the hard way that aloes in fountains don't really mix. And the reason is because of the invasive root system of the aloe. And aloe will throw off roots and just take over the entire thing. So you're like, well, then why do you have aloes? Because what I will do is I will come out and I will cut the roots off all the time. As often as necessary. I love the look of the aloe because, it's great to have these wonderful soft succulents in here, but it's also cool to have something, with a little bit of edge on it, a little bit of interest on it. But just make sure that you don't allow your aloe to really get its legs in there and root out, because then it's really difficult to get out. It takes all of the nourishment in the soil from the rest of the plants, and it's just not, it's not a very, it's kind of a bully. Let's put it that way. So see, this has little roots. I had done this, last time I worked on this fountain was probably 9 months, a year ago, maybe. So not much is happening. So I'm just going to let that ride. And I'm going to take and add a little more soil. I'm using just a generic potting soil in here because this has excellent drainage. And like I said, I'm not putting cactus in here or anything that has a tendency to rot. So I'm not too terribly worried about what type of soil I'm using in my fountain. While I go, you can kind of clean up detritus. This little tomentosa, look at that. Look at how leggy it's gotten. So we can take, and if you like the leggy look, leave it. I'm not a big fan, always, sometimes, but not always. So I think I'm going to trim this guy off again and put him back as a cutting. This guy, kind of the same thing. It's about to break off and fall anyway, so I'm going to again trim that down. And then I have something in here that is super crunchy. It looks like it was an echeveria, and it went to Jesus. My gosh, it's just dead as a doornail. I'm going to pull all that out. It is, look at all those yucky roots. I probably should have brought a bucket out here, huh? Well, I'll get the dustpan and the broom later and clean that up. So I hadn't actually planned on I didn't think I needed to do this much pre-work. I thought I would just pop a couple things in and call it a day, but clearly there's work that needs done. So I have a lot of room in here now for more soil too. So let me grab some, throw that in. Greg actually drilled holes in this fountain for me when we got it. I got this when we were still living in Chula Vista. I got it in my head that I wanted a concrete roof nail. I wanted a concrete fountain in my garden to plant out. And I threw that out into the universe, and the universe responded with this. What was it, Greg? 50 bucks? Mm-hmm. But granted, we had to haul it. And by we, I mean Greg. And it is heavy. This is a piece, this is a piece, this is a piece, and then there's the base. So thankfully, it all came apart, which made it not, completely ridiculous to move. And I just love it. The first thing that we did, and I have a video somewhere, it would be in one of the much older ones, where we actually showed the planting of this, right? And you used your concrete bit, drilled holes all through it so that the water would drain. Okay, how's that? Ugh, here's more. Well, those are kind of in there. I'll leave that. Cute little agavoides right there. So I'm just looking around now to see how the soil is. Here's another, toasty, dead, God knows what. This is all just like a little root ball. So I want to replace that spot with some nice, fresh soil. Okay, now, oh God, this is so gratifying, you guys. Okay, so I'm liking what's in here right now. And now I'm going to pop more things in. So we talked about this little aloe, and I'm going to let this little aloe ride. I kind of want to put it where it can be seen from the front, because I just think it lends a lot of visual interest here. Pop that back in. And then I also have the little tomentosa. And, as you're working around your fountain in your own yard, also be mindful of exposure. Do you have a side that's shadier? Do you have a side that gets more sun or more heat? Obviously, the area where you might have more shade, put softer, more delicate things, and the tougher things put on the side that's going to get more sun, if that is indeed an issue for you. Okay, so was that all I took out? I think that was pretty much it. Okay, all right, so I have some space, and now here's my lovely bucket o' cuttings that I pulled from the backyard from our little project that we worked on yesterday. And this is a setivaria. This is the back, which nobody's really going to see. So I don't want to put anything too amazing. This is mainly just filler. So I'm just going to pull, some of the basic stuff out of here. Basic is beautiful. Pop it in. And pop it, you can crank these plants in tight. I like that. I mean, personally, I much prefer that look. I like to see things packed in tight. Some of you have a different aesthetic or a different idea, or you're concerned about the plants being crowded. Succulents love some good root competition, so don't worry about the crowding. They will figure it out. Duke it out amongst themselves. Okay, might be something here, lover. All right, a little more soil right there. And because that's front row seating, maybe I'll put something cute right there. I've got a nice big echeveria that I pulled out of the backyard garden. It was languishing in the sun. I mean, badly. So you can see this is just a cutting. I'm going to pop it in right here. I love that blue against the pink of this Vera Higgins. Okay. Nice. Oh, this is making me really happy. Okay, now on to the bottom row. So, love, love, love everything that's in here. I'm gonna deadhead that because that bloom's pretty much done. Before we started shooting the video, I went through here and I just, cleaned up a little detritus. I didn't want to bore you with that, but there's more. I mean, you can get as detailed as you want to get, but what I noticed when I got into this, what in the world is this? Okay, new conversational stream. I hope you guys fastened your seatbelts. Look at this. Okay, see? This is called etiolation. This is an etiolated plant, meaning it is reaching desperately for the light. So I had this plant back here. It was clearly not getting enough sun, so it decided to stretch itself out in the hopes of getting some sun. And what it did is lengthen or etiolate, and it's no longer cute, is it? This would be a great, you can't reverse etiolation. It's not going to shrink back down, but you could take and cut it right here and just reset the top part. Or you could take all of these viable leaves off, set them flat, like so, on a tray of dry potting soil, like that. And then mist, keep it in the shade, mist, 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 every day, misting, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times a day, mist, mist, mist. If you're lucky, you'll get a little plantlet pop out right there. You're not going to do this in the potting soil. You're going to do this, because this is where you're going to get your new little plantlet, if you're lucky enough to get one. Okay? So you can do that. I'm not going to do either of those things. I'm just going to throw that away. Don't hate me. Okay, so let me add a little more soil. Oh, this is great. I haven't added any soil to this in the 2 years we have been here. So these plants are going to be like, oh, thank you. See what I'm doing? Am I so lazy or what? You're thinking, shouldn't you take all the plants out and add soil and then put all the plants back on? Yeah, I could, but I'm not going to. I really don't think that's necessary, but you can do that if you want. Big, big holes. We've just lost a lot of the soil is decomposed. I've got little barrel cactus blooms. I must have thrown them in the bag thinking that was detritus. Get little barrel cactus babies going in there. Okay, add a little more here. And I'm not tamping this down because I just really don't think that's necessary. And I want it soft and loose so that I can just stick my cuttings in like candles in a cake. Okay, now for the fun part. All right, remember what I said about considering your exposure, putting things, that are softer and more delicate where it's more shaded, and tougher aloes or tougher sedums out here where it isn't. In my particular case, that's not really an issue because it stays shady pretty much all day. So I can do what I want. So what I'm going to do, again, I'm thinking more of aesthetics. Check this out, guys. Oh, look at this. This is a gigantic Fred Ives. It was hanging over my little retaining wall back there and just no longer cute, but can you even with that color? So I want to put this in the front where people are going to see it. Look at that. How about that? Right? Yes. Then I've got this gigantic Sedivaria. I'm going to put that right here. Another big one. I just feel like, I've got a lot of little things in here. So, some bigger, impactful cuttings are what's up. Pop this guy in here. Little grapto. Okay, then, let's see. I'm always shocked at how many cuttings it takes to really fill up a container. So I'm just looking at where I've got dirt now. Just popping these in. And if your succulent stands up, you've done your job. I'm not really planting them, am I? I'm just kind of setting them on top of that soft loamy soil. Here is another gorgeous red ives. I'm going to put that one back here because I have this big space for it. And now I have a couple more little guys. I've got a little Sedum Adolphi. See the tiny little plants I'm going to put up in the, in the smaller space up here. And then another, oh, this is a ghosty that's starting to crest, which is super cool. I actually just cut this off of the pot with the grapefruit tree because this was hanging literally on the ground. And I thought, as hot as it is, making contact with the tiles might cause it to burn. So I rescued it. Okay, that's all the cuttings I've got. I could probably put another dozen in. I could cram another dozen in here if I had a shoehorn, but you get the idea. And how fresh and cute is this? This looks so much better. Now, because I installed cuttings in here, if you're going to do cuttings, I would suggest laying off of the water for a couple of weeks until the plants have plenty of time to harden off, and maybe even start throwing off some little tiny roots. Cutting is not really going to be able to intake water. They need roots to do that. So you're saying, well, Laura, what about all my rooted plants in here? They need support. Again, if you could provide shade, like with a beach umbrella, just temporarily, until your new cuttings have a chance to at least harden off, if not throw off some baby roots. Really resist the temptation to throw a lot of water on this, because you will run the risk of rotting the new little plants that you put in due to the fact that it is summertime and the weather is hot and the plants are sleeping. But yeah, I think I'm just going to stand out here now for the next however long. It's shady, it's cooling down, it's late in the afternoon, and I'm just going to admire this and putter with it. I had Hannah and Greg come out and level the fountain before I started this project. So how long did that take us? How long did that take? This video, like
18 minutes.
18 minutes, but I babbled for at least 5. So my point is, you don't need all day, folks, to do this. You only need really a few minutes, and trust, it will make you feel so accomplished. So with that, I encourage you to get out and do some little thing that's going to make your heart happy every time you look at it. This has been Laura Eubanks of Design for Serenity with your succulent tip of the day. Bye, guys.